Somewhere in the endless Mongolian steppe lies the most powerful man in human history. No tomb, no monument, no trace. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, his soldiers erased him. They slaughtered witnesses, diverted rivers, and trampled the earth until his body disappeared. The conqueror of half the world, erased by his own hand. Why? What secret was so dangerous it had to vanish with him? The story begins not with a king, but with a child. Temujin was born around 1162. Legends say he entered the world clutching a blood clot the size of a knuckle, a sign that his destiny would be written in blood. Shamans whispered that this boy was chosen by the eternal blue sky itself, but destiny is cruel. At the age of 9, his father was poisoned by rivals. Without his protection, the clan abandoned Temujin, his mother, and his siblings. They were left to die in the wilderness. The steppe is merciless. Winters freeze bone, summers burn skin, and wolves stalk the weak. Temujin's family ate roots, fish bones, rodents. Hunger hollowed their stomachs, but not their will. At 13, driven by rage and scarcity, Temujin killed his half-brother in a dispute over food. Childhood ended in blood. He learned the first law of the steppe. Survival demands sacrifice. But survival soon turned to humiliation. Temujin was captured by enemies. Shackled with a wooden collar, he was paraded like an animal. He was beaten, mocked, degraded. Yet one night beneath the black sky, he slipped free. He hid in an icy river, breathing through a reed while his captors searched the banks. At dawn, he fled. A guard discovered him, and in that moment of fate chose mercy. That act saved him. That act changed history. Temujin grew into a man forged by betrayal. He found an ally in Jamuka, his childhood friend. They swore eternal brotherhood, conquering together, dreaming of unity. But power tempts even the closest bond. Jamuka betrayed him, and in a single act of cruelty, boiled 70 of Temujin's young warriors alive. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade. Temujin understood that blood ties were fragile. Only loyalty mattered. He redefined power, not by who you were born, but by what you proved. Farmers rose to commanders. Slaves became generals. Nobles fell if they disobeyed. Betray him and you were destroyed. Follow him and you could rise to greatness. He shattered the old tribal order. Warriors were organized into units of 10, 100, 1,000. Loyalty shifted from clan to khan. He created a new law, the yasa. It outlawed theft, protected women, demanded discipline, and punished betrayal with death. It was brutal, but it turned chaos into order. The steppe was no longer a collection of feuding tribes. It was becoming a nation. By 1206, his rise was unstoppable. At the Onan River, shamans raised sacred banners, fire crackled, milk was poured in ritual, and the tribes proclaimed him Genghis Khan, universal ruler. Witnesses swore that at that moment he seemed to change form, becoming more than human, a force of nature. The boy who had nothing was now master of the steppe, but his true genius was just beginning. His army was like no other. Riders who could cover 100 miles a day, drinking mare's milk mixed with blood drawn from their own horses. Archers who fired with lethal precision while galloping at full speed. Scouts disguised as merchants moving unseen across continents. To his enemies they seemed supernatural. Cities spoke of demons on horseback, appearing from nowhere, vanishing into mist. His tactics bent the rules of war. He mastered feigned retreats, drawing armies into traps, then surrounding them in an iron circle. He unleashed terror deliberately. Resist and your city burned to ash. Surrender and you were spared, absorbed into his empire. Word spread faster than armies. To fight him was suicide. To surrender was survival. He turned psychology into a weapon sharper than any sword. When he conquered cities, he bent them to his use. Captured engineers built siege weapons for him. Scholars, doctors, and craftsmen were absorbed into his empire. Knowledge itself became his weapon. He was not just a conqueror. He was a collector of skills, sciences, and secrets. Every victory made him stronger, not just in men but in ideas. Yet the paradox deepened. He destroyed civilizations, but he also built. Under his rule, the Silk Road thrived. Merchants could travel from China to Europe under Mongol protection. Religious freedom was enforced across his vast domain. Diplomats and scholars crossed continents. Women gained rights and voices that many other empires denied them. He was both annihilator and architect, terror and tolerance combined. And through it all, he remained simple. He ate the same food as his soldiers, wore the same clothes, endured the same storms. His men did not just fear him, they loved him, because he suffered as they did. Leadership by example made him invincible. By the 1220s, his empire stretched from the Pacific to the Caspian. But even the strongest force bends to time. In 1227, at the height of his power, Genghis Khan died. Some say he fell from a horse. Others whisper of assassination or illness. But the truth may be stranger. His funeral procession killed every witness. His soldiers trampled the land flat. Some legends say a river was diverted over his tomb. His grave has never been found. Perhaps he commanded this erasure himself, understanding that the ultimate conquest was control over memory. To vanish was to become eternal. What can we learn from the man who built the largest empire in history and then erased himself? His life is not just history. It is a field manual for resilience, leadership, and legacy. He teaches us that adversity is not the end. It is the beginning. Every betrayal hardened him. Every setback forged him. Every defeat became a lesson. He shows us that loyalty is stronger than blood. He did not care about noble birth. He cared whether you would ride with him into the storm. That is why slaves became generals and why his army shattered kingdoms. He reminds us that leadership is sacrifice. He shared the food, the clothing, the cold nights with his men. True leaders do not stand above their followers, they stand among them. And his final mystery teaches us that power is not just about conquering nations. It is about conquering memory. Even in death, he dictated how the world would see him. His grave remains hidden because he understood this. Power fades, empires crumble, but the story you leave behind is eternal. So the next time you feel crushed by circumstance or betrayed or beaten down, remember Temujin, the boy who had nothing, yet created everything. Greatness does not come from what you inherit. It comes from what you endure. From obscurity to empire. From slave to sovereign. From forgotten child of the steppe to a name the world will never erase. That is not just the rise of Genghis Khan. That is the lesson of Genghis Khan.